My boyfriend kept sneaking entire sticks of butter into the bathroom for over an hour at a time, and every time he came out, the butter was completely gone. When I finally confronted him and demanded to know the truth, he confessed everything. I thought I was prepared, but what he told me was so disturbing that I had to leave. Now I can never look at him, or butter, the same way again. Posted by you/thrower_butter_drama. I, 24F, have been dating my boyfriend, 30M, for 2 years, and we finally moved in together. Ever since then, I have seen a new side of him. It's a very odd issue, and I can't wrap my head around what to do. At first, I started to notice that butter was disappearing quickly. I assumed maybe I lost track of how much we had, or perhaps he was cooking when I wasn't around. I don't know. But one night, a few weeks ago, I saw him try to stealthily take a stick of butter from the fridge. I pretended not to notice, and he took the butter with him into the bathroom. I had already noticed my boyfriend spending an hour or more in the bathroom since we moved in, but I had never seen him take butter before. I was so confused. When he came out of the bathroom about an hour later, there was no sign of the butter, but he also did not put it back in the fridge. It was just gone. I tried to subtly keep an eye on him, and over the course of a week, he did this 3 separate times. Each time, a stick of butter disappeared. Finally, one day, I said, "Where did all our butter go? I hardly used any this week, and it's gone." He pretended not to know and said maybe we forgot to buy it. I told him no, that we had 4 sticks before, and now they were gone. He just acted like it was a mystery and said, "Guess we should order some groceries." By now, I was getting very confused. So I ordered groceries and made a point of saying, "Good to finally have 4 sticks of butter. This should last us quite a while." He made no comment. On the first 2 days, whenever I used a small amount of butter, I would remark about how much was left. Finally, one day, I saw him do it again. He took a stick of butter into the bathroom, stayed for an hour or so, and came back without it. I couldn't believe it. So when I made dinner, I acted shocked that 1 stick of butter was gone. He said maybe we only had 3, but he knew I had been making a point of keeping track. The very next day, another stick of butter was gone. I listened at the bathroom door and heard the sink running, and I think I heard moaning noises. I was so confused. Finally, this time when he came out, I told him I knew he had been taking butter into the bathroom. He got all flustered and said I must be mistaken, but I told him I had literally seen him take butter into the bathroom and come out without it. I also told him I knew he had been lying about the amount of butter in our fridge. He started apologizing for misleading me but said, "Let's just not talk about it." When he saw I was getting mad, he said, "What if I just order my own separate, private butter?" I was like, okay, but what are you doing with the butter?" He asked me to promise never to ask about his butter activities again and just put it behind us. He said, "Just look the other way on this one thing," and stressed how it's not a big deal at the end of the day. I was like, okay, I guess. But I have been so confused and even disturbed about it. What is he doing with the butter? Why was he lying about it? Why won't he tell me? I don't even think he's eating it because he's not an overweight guy, and I feel like if someone ate that much butter, they'd become hefty, but he shows no signs of it. I just keep thinking, who is this guy? Am I overreacting? It is just so odd. I see him in a different light now and I'm not sure what to do. Should I just ignore it? Top comments. Commenter 1, I love that he acted like buying his own butter would fix the issue. Commenter 2, the phrase private butter really got me. This is where this woman's boyfriend draws the line. Update. 1 day later. This morning, I said, yes, you should buy private, personal butter for your activities, but I also said I need to know what you do with the butter. He got very quiet and then said, "Fine, I'll tell you just this once," and he told me. He told me everything. I was so mortified and confused. I cannot tell you what it is, but I will say it is a sensual activity. Extremely sensual. It is definitely an inappropriate use of butter. I cannot even type what it is due to how graphic it is. On one hand, it's just butter, but on the other, I can no longer see him the same way. I'm staying at my parents'. To make matters worse, a friend of his found my other post and sent it to him, saying, "Lol, this must be about you." I guess he used to do it in college too, and he is furious. Now, other people I know in real life know what he does with butter. He is angry at me for exposing his butter-based proclivities. Now, I have probably ruined my relationship, and everyone knows my business, causing me shame and humiliation. I can't believe what he does with butter, though, and I don't think I can be with somebody who does things like that. I consider it a momentous mistake for me to have ever confronted him about it. This is my fault because I can never unknow what I know. Relevant comment. Commenter, what is it? Does he shove the butter up the rear end? Does he use it like a backdoor pole until it's slightly melted, then lick it, then put it back inside and repeat the process until the butter's gone? What does he do with the butter? My ex told me to stay away from a party because his fiancée feels threatened by me, even though I have a serious boyfriend and moved on ages ago. I went anyway, because I wasn't about to miss my own friend's housewarming over some girl's insecurities. I didn't even look in their direction, but she still embarrassed herself all night, making weird comments and trying way too hard to impress his friends, who clearly can't stand her. Now she's mad at me for simply existing. Posted by you/new_material_7896. My ex, 27M, and I, 26F, split 2 years ago. We met through my best friend, who worked in the same theater as him at the time. The reason we broke up was that he didn't think we were working anymore. It was pretty amicable, I didn't put up a fight or anything, but I strongly believe there was no reason for us to remain friends. That always causes problems. However, I'm still friendly with his friends, and I make small talk if I run into his parents. We live in a pretty close-knit environment. Don't ask me how, we live in a city, but most of my friends and his come from either the same university, share a common hobby, or just roam around the same circles. We definitely see each other once or twice every couple of months. My ex has a fiancée now, and I am happy for them. I have never met her, and until now, I didn't think that mattered. We are all adults, or so I thought. One of his closest friends, Peter, just bought a house. I am friends with Peter's girlfriend, and we are both invited to the housewarming. I didn't think much of it. However, my ex texted me yesterday, after about a year, albeit very politely, suggesting that I should skip the housewarming since he was bringing his fiancée, and she would feel uncomfortable. I was weirded out by his wording, so I called him. He said his fiancée felt uncomfortable with me being anywhere near him and that they both felt I sometimes intruded into their social gatherings just to prove to his friends that I was better than her. I got pretty mad hearing him say that and asked him in what way. We are not friends, and I stopped hanging out with his friends the moment we broke up to avoid making things difficult for him. There were a lot of people in his circle I had become close to, but I stepped away so that things wouldn't be awkward for any future partner. How was this my fault? My ex then explained that 2 of his friends didn't like or respect his fiancée and thought she was an airhead, and so did his parents. Our circles, I admit, are full of literature and theater people, and some of them can be pretentious. But again, I told him that was his problem for being a spineless boyfriend, not mine. I told my ex very clearly that both Peter and his girlfriend are my friends, and I would be going to their housewarming. His relationship issues are not my problem. I have now blocked him. His fiancée then sent me a long text apologizing but also claiming that I was now being vindictive. She asked why it even mattered if I skipped a housewarming, told me not to create drama, and asked me to respect her. I didn't reply and just blocked her too. My friends are pissed at my ex. I haven't told my friend or Peter about any of this yet. I think maybe I could have handled it differently. Am I the jerk? Relevant comments. Here is your edited version with grammatical corrections and clarity improvements. Op gives context on her relationship with Peter and his girlfriend. Peter's girlfriend and I have been friends for a long time. We were even roommates for 8 months. Technically, I'm a closer friend to Peter than my ex is, even though they are college friends, because of his fiancée's antics. Peter and another one of his closest friends are drifting away from my ex because he insists on bringing her everywhere, and they don't like her. Out of all my ex's friends, Peter is the only one I'm close to, mainly because of his girlfriend. Plus, his girlfriend and Peter met through me, so I am a very close part of their friend group. This is why I was pissed at my ex. I could understand if he was telling me to skip his best friend's party. But telling me to skip one of my closest friends' housewarming for his fiancée, whom people don't even like, sounded so stupid. Commenter 1. NTA. But you should tell Peter and his girlfriend. Your ex and his fiancée are jerks. It is not your job to manage their emotions or insecurities. If she's uncomfortable, then she should stay home. Commenter 2. I agree. Peter should be told before the ex has a chance to spin this and make Op the bad guy. Op. Peter is one of those people who doesn't like her. Our circle is mainly filled with people who mix within a certain type of bookish thinking. Plus, Peter and another one of my ex's friends think she is anti-intellectual. Most of my ex's friends are like that, either theater people or really pretentious jerks. Peter dislikes her even more because he thinks my ex was stupid to break up with me and couldn't handle it if I was doing better than him. Their friendship is already on thin ice, and I don't want to be the reason it breaks. Commenter 3. I was apparently being vindictive, and how did it matter if I didn't go to a housewarming? Call me a cynic, but the fiancé is the one being vindictive. And how does it matter if she or your idiot ex don't go to the housewarming? Commenter 4. Unblock her and text her back, your insecurities are not my problem to fix. If the housewarming isn't that important, then you and my ex are welcome to sit this one out. I will be celebrating my friend's next step into the future with them. Then block her. Commenter 5. NTA. You've handled everything fine. This is their issue, not yours. Anytime you are at the same location as them, obviously avoid them at all costs. And I would really minimize speaking about them at all. The more you can firmly say, I don't talk or think about you, the better. Oh, and the irony. Everything she said to you goes right back at her. You've done nothing in this scenario. It's your ex's request that's creating the drama. Update, 9 days later. Thank you for all the lovely suggestions on my previous post, which is why I'm doing an update. I did go to the party. Honestly, after reading that, yes, my ex had in fact lost his mind, I decided not to bother Peter or his girlfriend, my friend, and just go and mind my business. It's not like my ex and his fiancée would come and scream the house down upon seeing me. I guess I didn't mention this in my last post, but the reason I was even more mad at my ex was that I have a very serious boyfriend. The idea that my ex's fiancé would think I'd go anywhere just to spite my ex, despite being in a committed relationship, was really insulting. We went to the housewarming, and I ignored them. I don't care, we are all adults, and I am not going to fuel drama. My ex and his fiancée, especially her, made fools of themselves. At some point, even I felt bad because I saw how desperate she was for my ex's friends to respect her or take even one of her sentences seriously. Whoever she tried to talk to either ignored her or straight up walked away. Again, Peter and my ex's friends are a different group, and I'm not friends with them. But the way my ex let his friends treat his fiancée made my blood boil. I mostly hung out with my friends, Peter's girlfriend's friend group, and I didn't speak to or look at my ex once. The one time he said hi, my boyfriend responded with a polite hello, and we didn't see him near us for the rest of the night. His fiancée just asked me if my dress wasn't a bit too modest, and Peter immediately shut that down by saying everyone there had followed the dress code, casual elegant. Don't ask me, I didn't make the rules, except for her. My boyfriend already loathes my ex, so we did not mingle near them again. Overall, I had a great time. We even got to leave early and have some time to ourselves, watched a movie and had a nice night at home. However, what really pissed me off was how much of a terrible fiancé my ex was, and how much his fiancée was trying to fit in and failing, while he wouldn't even help her. My boyfriend isn't just a bookish person, he doesn't fit in with some pretentious people either. He's very blunt, so some people don't like him. Plus, he loves video games, comics, and has hobbies like trekking and diving, which scare me. But we compromise and learn to adjust to each other's interests. If someone treated my boyfriend even a little like how they treat my ex's fiancé, I'd cut them off, no questions asked. I'm already low contact with a few friends who judged and made comments about him in the past. I really hope she leaves him if she has any dignity, or he gets his act together. All in all, not my problem. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Something about the first story in the modest dress comment has me thinking the new fiancé was an affair partner and she's always been insecure about Op. She's probably been competing with you longer than you realize. Commenter 2. I agree with you. It seems like that girl was the affair partner of Op's ex-fiancé. That would definitely explain the competition, insecurity, why his friends treat her so badly, and why his parents don't like her. It would also explain why he doesn't respect or try to protect her. Why would he take someone with no morals seriously? I bet Op's ex-fiancé's friends and parents like Op more, and the girls in the group are probably making that girl's life hard out of fear that she'll go after their boyfriends, just like she did with Op's ex. Op, keep your distance from them. They don't deserve even a minute of your time. Commenter 3. You handled this perfectly. Part of me feels like she didn't want you there because she didn't want the reality check. Now, she's had the opportunity to see how you interact with people, how your boyfriend interacts with you, and how people interact with her boyfriend. The contrast between your situation and hers must have hit her hard. It's a shame you blocked them because I imagine any messages they sent in backlash to your success versus hers would have been glorious to read. But more importantly, you don't care. In fact, you even have empathy for her. That's great. It shows how beautifully you've grown over 2 years. Commenter 4. Wow, you are a genuinely nice person. After she took a petty dig at you, you were still more upset about how your ex's friends treated her than your ex was. That says a lot about your character and what a strong, confident person you are. Bravo, Op. Commenter 5. NTA for attending. But honestly, I think all of your friends sound like pretentious jerks. A dress code for a housewarming? And being rude and ignoring someone's partner just because they're not smart enough or interesting enough? Commenter 6. Having an excuse to dress up is fun, plus they're theater kids, so that just amplifies it. I doubt anyone would have commented on her outfit if she hadn't tried to throw shade at Op. She made herself look bad. Op in response to a downvoted comment that claimed she hadn't gotten over her ex. Wow. So having empathy for a person, no matter how they act, Means I haven't moved on? Caring about how others are treated doesn't always come with ulterior motives. My being mad at my ex for being a terrible human being toward his fiancée has nothing to do with my non-existent feelings for him and everything to do with being uncomfortable watching another woman be insulted in front of me.
My ex-wife ignored our marriage for years, skipping counseling and spending more time in hotel rooms than at home. When I finally left, her family treated me like a monster for blindsiding her, even though I gave her chance after chance. Now they're punishing our kids, hanging up on my daughter if she calls from my house and making my son choose between me and them. I held this family together alone for years, but somehow, I'm the villain. Posted by you/Prudent Composer 3500. My ex-wife and I were married for over 20 years and have 2 children together, 22M and 20F. For most of my marriage, things were pretty balanced. We both shared housework and childcare responsibilities. We each took turns as stay-at-home parents for over a year after each child, her with our son and me with both our son and daughter. We always had agreements on how we wanted to divide work and generally had decent communication. This changed when my oldest started high school. My wife got a new job that was both very demanding on her time and required 50% travel. This meant that I had to handle everything about 2 weeks per month, and when she was home, she wasn't holding up her end of our agreements. I did my best to be accommodating, and we worked through redistributing chores and housework a few times to fit her schedule better, but a lot of the work just kept falling to me. When the pandemic happened, things got worse, but I tried to just suck it up because I knew the lockdowns were temporary. Finally, when things opened back up, things continued to decline, and I asked to go to counseling. She missed a lot of our meetings and just didn't commit to it. At that point, I decided I wanted a divorce. Unfortunately, it was a really tough time for the family. My son was preparing to attend college in person after his freshman year was remote, which was both a financial and logistical challenge. At the same time, my daughter was struggling with depression, and I had become her main support system with my wife gone half the time. I made the decision to wait until my daughter was in a better mental state and our family was financially stable before filing for divorce. I did my best to continue contributing and was essentially a single parent for 3 years. On a few occasions, I brought up counseling again, but my wife insisted that things were good and refused to go. We pretty much didn't smash for that entire period, and one summer, she essentially moved to North Carolina for 6 weeks for work, only coming home on some weekends. Last year, after my daughter started her sophomore year of college and was in a better place mentally and emotionally, I sold off some of my stock investments to create a trust for my kids to ensure their college was covered. Then, I filed for divorce. At first, my wife was really angry, then she left to live in North Carolina again. When she came back 4 weeks later, she said she wanted to work through it, but I told her I had made the decision to leave years ago and wasn't interested. We eventually went through mediation and had an amicable divorce. My kids live with me now and support me, but all of my in-laws and even most of my family, aside from my sister, think I'm the bad guy. They believe I should have forced the issue more when we started counseling and either divorced earlier or made it clearer to my wife how important counseling was to me. They've called me selfish, and some of my in-laws are refusing to interact with my kids when they're at my house. For example, my daughter FaceTimed her grandmother once this summer, and she hung up as soon as she saw my daughter was at my house. They also caused a scene at my son's graduation in the spring, refusing to acknowledge me and demanding that my son choose between celebrating with them or with me rather than having dinner together as a group. I encouraged my son to go with them, and we had our own celebration later, but something happened at the dinner. Since then, my son has lived with me and has been almost no contact with them. I honestly feel like I did what was best for my kids, but now it feels like their mom's family is punishing them, and I feel like a terrible father. I admit that it might have been more mature to address the issue head-on in my relationship with my ex, but I felt that it was about more than just the two of us. Frankly, I feel like my lack of backbone years ago has made this divorce harder on my kids, but I also believe that if I had to do it again, I would still prioritize my kids over my own feelings and make the same choice. Am I the bad guy? Edit. Holy crap, this blew up. First off, thanks to everyone who provided feedback and comments. I was really feeling awful, and both the positive and negative comments helped me gain some perspective on things. I've seen a few comments come up multiple times, so I figure it's worth answering them here before I move on. 1. This is an account I created to ask an embarrassing dating question earlier this year. I made it because my main username is recognizable, and I reused it now because I don't really want to air my issues under a known username. 2. When my wife took the job, we were doing well financially, but the job still came with a big raise. I was making about $200,000, and her new job increased her salary from about $80,000 to $140,000. That was enough to go from just having an emergency fund to being able to pay for our kids' college outright. We both work in tech, but she works for a defense contractor, and some of her work needs to be done on site. Only one of the offices related to her work is near where we live. When we originally discussed the job, her plan was to stay in the high travel role for a while and then transfer to a lower travel role based near us. However, she got promoted a few times, and staying near our home wasn't an option unless she took a significant pay and title cut. By the time we divorced, I was making about $280,000, and she was making a little over $300,000. Some people were also confused by my stock comment. I'm a software engineer for a big tech company, and about 20 to 30% of my salary comes in the form of RSUs, restricted stock units. I'm not an investor by any means, I was just selling off stock mostly to cover my daughter's college and pay off what debt my son had. 3. I know a lot of people are jumping straight to the idea of an affair, but I really doubt it. In school, my wife and I were the obnoxious kids who reminded the teacher about homework, and she's a massive introvert. Her working late in a hotel room is much more likely than her sleeping around or keeping some secret family. There's always a chance I'm wrong, but I think this is just one of those times when Reddit assumes all divorces involve infidelity. 4. When I say we had an amicable divorce, I mean it more in the legal sense than the emotional sense. Uncontested might be a better term. The only significant asset we had that wasn't easily split was our home. My wife loves the house, and I frankly wanted something different, so she bought out my portion of it. Our kids are adults, so there was no custody arrangement. Our assets were mostly divisible, so that wasn't an issue. Our salaries were comparable, so there was no alimony. We each had a car. Overall, it was pretty straightforward to divide everything evenly, and neither of us wanted to drag things out. We didn't end the marriage as friends by any means, but from a legal standpoint, it was amicable because we settled everything through mediation and only involved lawyers briefly to draft the final paperwork for the judge to sign off on. Additional information from Op on some other questions. Op. Why did your wife disappear off to a travel job? Was fund money separate and based on income? My wife never wanted to be a homemaker or a traditional kind of wife and always placed a lot of value on her career. That's part of the reason I married her. That being said, I never expected her to take a job that required so much travel, and I still don't completely understand why she did it. I think part of it was that she knew things were tough at home, and this was an escape. I also know she had mostly younger coworkers, and there was some feeling of being a jet setter. Sorry, I can't think of a more current term. Why did you have chore arrangements like you were roommates that were expected to be adhered to even when she got the travel job? I'm not exactly sure what you mean here. I think most relationships involve establishing who is responsible for certain chores and housework. Obviously, I didn't expect her to do housework while she was away, but as I said in my post, she didn't really help out when she was home either. I didn't expect her to do all the work when she was back, just her fair share. Why did you have a deleted post from Low Karma about crazy dating misadventures only recently? Because I started dating after the divorce, and trying to figure out dating in my 40s hasn't gone well. I've addressed this in other comments, but that post was actually the reason I made this throwaway account. I deleted it when I realized I was really out of touch with current dating norms. What is the reason your side of the family is upset with you as well? My family believes the only valid reasons for divorce are infidelity or abuse. They are pretty conservative and traditional. How did you phrase your request for counseling? Initially, it was pretty soft. I mentioned it a few times but didn't really push. Around 2021, I told her that I felt our marriage was falling apart and that I thought the only way to move forward was through counseling. She agreed, and we started, but as I mentioned in my post, she didn't commit to it. We had Zoom sessions when she was traveling, and she often wouldn't show up. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, NTA, but really, only your kids can answer this question for you. Maybe just ask them directly, do you think I was wrong to wait until you guys were settled and I was ready, or was it the wrong decision for you? It sounds like you did everything you could, and your kids will never forget. It's all done now, so forget about it and live life happily. That's what it was all for. OP, I have checked with the kids, and they agree with my decision now, but I also didn't really ask them until after the incident at my son's graduation. That's kind of why I'm doubting things. I waited until my in-laws were being jerks before I asked my kids about it, but I can also see how my decisions have had at least some impact on my in-laws' behavior. Frankly, it's a mess, and I should probably be seeing a therapist rather than talking to Reddit, but sometimes talking to strangers on the internet feels safer. Commenter 2, NTA. So, is your ex-wife okay with everybody treating her kids like that? Is she treating them poorly as well? And the whole "you should let her know that counseling was so important to you" thing, no, you shouldn't. No one asks for counseling just because they're bored. And when you asked for a divorce, her first reaction was to go to North Carolina. Probably, she asked her affair partner if they could be a public couple, and when he said no, she came back with "let's work this out." The truth is, if the roles were reversed, no one would be blaming her for wanting a divorce. Don't blame yourself. Everyone, including your kids, is an adult now. Ask your kids if they want therapy, if they haven't already gone, and keep your distance from these people. They are not your family if they are unwilling to understand you. OP, my ex-wife really doesn't talk to me much, but when I brought up the FaceTime thing, her response was essentially, "I don't control my mother." My ex isn't treating my kids poorly, but she also continues to prioritize work over them. My daughter is in therapy for her depression, and I've offered to pay for my son to go if he wants to. Update, 3.5 months later. Things are going much better overall since the post. I got a lot of support, but also a lot of criticism, which I took to heart. I have been putting in the effort to mend fences and help get things to a more reasonable state. I don't expect my ex or her family to be friends with me, but I at least want to be on good terms. My relationship with my parents and family is much better, and this Christmas was pretty much back to normal. My family is very conservative, especially when it comes to marriage, but they finally understand how bad things had become and have reluctantly accepted it. My relationship with my ex, and more importantly, her relationship with our kids, has also improved. She has apparently been going to therapy on her own, and while she hasn't shared details, she does seem a lot less angry about what happened. We decided to have Thanksgiving together so we could all talk things through with the kids. It was a bit messy, and there were a lot of tears, but we also reached a place where we understand each other a bit more. We all agree that I shouldn't have waited so long to go through with the divorce, but my ex and kids also say they understand why I did. My ex-wife and I even had a conversation about dating, which was weird but surprisingly kind of nice. My ex-in-laws still think I'm a horrible person, and most refuse to talk to me, but they have started treating my kids well. My kids went to their grandparents' place for Christmas Eve and told me it went okay. We talked about it on Christmas, and while they didn't give many details, they did say they planned to do something on New Year's Eve with my ex and the in-laws, so I'm happy about that. Sorry, this isn't a juicy update with anything crazy, but I was bored during the holiday downtime and thought I would log in and post some details. One thing I've learned from this, and I hope others learn too, even if your heart is in the right place, it's probably better to divorce when the marriage is over rather than keeping up a facade for years. I don't regret getting a divorce, but I do wish I hadn't waited 3 years when I already knew it was over. Top comments. Commenter 1, you shouldn't be bothered by what your ex-in-laws think about you. People who blame children, even almost adults, for the things their father did are not very good at judging people. They are the real antagonists here. Commenter 2, when it's over, it's over. Dragging it out only causes more damage to someone, yourself, the kids, etc. Glad things are working out for you, and I appreciate you sharing your experience and conclusions. Commenter 3, I don't understand anyone saying you did the wrong thing. Ending a marriage with children involved isn't just about ending the marriage, it affects the entire family. Waiting to make sure your daughter's mental health was in a place where she could handle the divorce wasn't selfish, it was the exact opposite. If you had divorced when you initially wanted to, and your daughter's mental health had plummeted, then what? The only person inconvenienced was the woman who neglected her marriage and her children, and she'd been inconveniencing you and the kids by abandoning them for years. Please stop feeling any sense of guilt for waiting. You're the only one who did the right thing. Stop apologizing for that.